In this video, I'm going to show you how to patch a rip in your RV roof membrane. This could be caused from hitting a tree branch with your RV and poking a hole in the roof, or when you are scraping up sealant to do some resealing work, you stretch the membrane or poke a hole into it. Or in our case, we have an older roof, which is a little bit fragile on top and gummy, and the top layer of the roof material needs some patchwork to make sure it's not going to be a leak issue in the future. So let's get into it. First off, you'll need some Eternabond tape, and other supplies that you will need is a roller to press the tape in once it's applied, either some knife or scissors to cut your tape, and application-wise, so some alcohol and a soft towel like this, some gloves, and some Dicor sealant to seal the edges of tape once you are finished up. Now to answer a couple questions about using the tape on your roof. There's different types of tapes out there. I use authentic Eternabond tape. If you compare that to the look-alike tapes, the other tapes will not have a thick of sealant on the backside. So that gray layer is your layer of sealant that seals in place. If you had not Eternabond tape, you would see a bunch of lines and ripples in that, which does not create a nice, good, solid seal with the other tapes. So that's why I use this Eternabond tape. Costs a little bit more, but it's well worth it. And this tape is good for multiple different roof types, whether you have EPDM, TPO, PVC, fiberglass, or aluminum. It's made for all of those. And this roof we're working on today is EPDM, and I'll show you some details on how you can tell that once we're looking at the area we will be putting a little patch over top. Okay, I mentioned this roof is EPDM material, and with EPDM, as it ages, you'll see some cracking in the top layers of it. And sometimes that top layer becomes gummy, like over here. When I was doing this front cap sealant, my foot was over here and it just wore through the gummy layer. But you can see below that, there's a rubber below that. So there's still material that is keeping water out. But what I'm going to do is put the Eternabond tape over this section to make sure we have a nice good seal so I don't have to worry about water damage in this section. This does happen with EPDM roofs. So if you have an older RV that has EPDM type material, I would make sure if you're doing work around it, just walk slow, don't spin your foot, and if something does happen, you can go ahead and patch it just like I'm doing now. Now I'm going to use some 91% alcohol, put it onto my towel. I will clean off any loose dirt and debris in this section. It does not have to be, clean and bright just like it was from the factory. You just need to make sure all of the stuff that will prevent your tape from sticking is removed. You can see what's coming off. Part of that is the roof material itself, but most of that is dirt. That's why you don't want to go too harsh on this EPDM material so you don't remove more than you're trying to clean. Okay, the whole section is clean. Now we'll let this air dry for a minute or so that way everything is going to be nice and dry and nothing's going to prevent the Eternabond tape from sticking. In the meantime, I will get my tape prepped and ready. So I'm going to run the tape from just about that front cap to just past this section right there. I use my knife and cut it straight. So everything is nice and dry. On the back of the tape, there's a little plastic film layer. Now for putting down the tape, take off your gloves because this is designed to stick to rubber type material. It won't stick as bad to your hands, but it will stick to your gloves and you will mess up the back of the tape. I'll use my knife just to get the film on the back side started. I'll peel it back almost all the way so I can grip that end to pull it straight. You can see it sticking to my thumb on this side, but it will peel right off. So as you're putting it down, start with one side, start smoothing it down so you don't create any air bubbles on the back side. work the tape towards the area that you still have some of your film. Now we have a nice good flat layer of Eternabond tape. Now this is where the roller comes in, so you can press it into place. So I'll work my way back and forth across the whole piece of tape. Now our tape is down, nice and flat. This is stuck to the roof. You could leave this way if you wanted to, but as an extra layer of sealant protection, if you seal the edges of your tape with Dicor lap sealant, that'll make sure this edge doesn't peel up over time and no water creeps below the tape to the roof material and makes a nice good extra bond. Now if you were putting down your tape in cold weather, this will stick, I think they say even below freezing, as long as your tape is warm before you put it onto your roof material. If you were putting it down when it's that cold, I would wait and come back and put the Dicor on the outside once it warms up a little bit, but that tape can be put down in colder temperatures. Now, if you had a giant rip on the roof that was larger than this tape, and if you were out camping, you could put a couple layers of tape to go a wider section, but realistically, the rip should be smaller than the piece of tape you're putting down. You can get some wider Eternabond, like 6 inches wide, if you had a little bigger issue to work with. This is 4 inches, which works well in pretty much all situations when you have an issue on the roof, because typically if you hit a tree branch, it's a pretty small area. It's going to be ripped up a little bit, and this would cover that section. For this, I'll be using non-sag Dicor on the lower portion because we're on a vertical surface. Self-leveling Dicor would run down, and I'm going to run the non-sag Dicor, from this top edge here down along the bottom edge, and I will bond to this front joint up here just so it's an even seal. Then I'll use some white self-leveling across the top. I will flatten out nice and not trap any water. And I'm using black in this situation because the side of the RV is full body paint, and looking up from the ground, you will see the sealant right here. So black will blend in really well, just like the trim piece that's below it. If I put white there, it would just stand out more. You can use any color you want to. In this case, black looks better once it's going to be finished up. And I need to start from this way so I can pull back my sealant. Now one little air bubble came out of my tube right there. I'm just going to feather that over with my finger. And up here towards the front cap trim, I'll make sure that blends in well. Now I'm going to switch over to the self-leveling. I'm just going to put one strip halfway covering the tape and halfway onto the roof. All right, now how long will a patch last on the roof? Well, according to Eternabond, their roof tape is, I believe, 35 years, which is going to be longer than any RV roof will last. So this patch is actually going to be better than the roof material itself. It'll keep water out, seal really well, and there'll be no issues with that particular section. Of course, I'm getting some black Dicor and stuff, but this will be a really nice patch for a long time. So don't worry if you have to put a patch in the roof. Tree branches happen. They fall off trees. You rub into things. As long as you're not ripping the whole roof off, you can always patch it and keep the water out. You won't have any future issues. Now, putting down patches is a whole different thing than putting Eternabond tape over the whole roof. Not like covering the whole roof layer by layer. I'm talking about putting over all the seams and the joints. Some people will go through and put Eternabond tape over their front cap, around the skylight, around the vents, all over the roof, thinking that it's going to future-proof the roof where they won't have to go back and do any work to it. Now, this tape here I put down, you will still need to inspect this when you're looking at your roof sealant every 90 days to make sure the tape's not peeling up, nothing's wrong with it, the sealant isn't cracked, all those things, just like any other spot on the roof. So it doesn't eliminate you from having to inspect the roof, make sure things are good. But what happens when people Eternabond tape the whole roof of the RV, when there's multiple layers and that tape intersects on top of each other, it leaves little gaps where water can creep below that. Yes, you can put some sealant around that, but the other things that happen, if you have a lot of Eternabond tape on the roof and the tape can expand and contract at different rates, which can create some bubbles between the tape and the roof material, and water gets in there, even if you seal the sides of it. At small patches like this, I don't see that, but when I see really large strips and big sections of Eternabond tape, that's when I see that happen. So this video is part of a complete series showing the entire process from start to finish, beginning at inspecting roof sealant to resealing sealant. If you want to see the whole process in one complete video, along with the tools and supplies I use, you can see that linked in the description below.